Our first story deals today with water, but not salt water like you can find in Commencement Bay. This one is about rivers and the hydroelectric projects on them that help meet our daily power needs. But generating electricity is much more than just operating dams and powerhouses. As we see in this report from producer John Phillips, elk meadows, new fish hatcheries, and even a trolley ride for migrating salmon will soon become part of operations on the Olympic Peninsula.
Amid the spectacular scenery at the southern base of Washington's Olympic Mountains is Tacoma Power's Cushman Hydro Project. The reservoir behind Cushman No. 1 Dam is Lake Cushman. It's a gem well known to those who love the outdoors. Just downstream is Lake Kokanee and Cushman No. 2 Dam. From here, water is channeled through a tunnel and penstocks nearly 3 miles to a powerhouse on Hood Canal. The Cushman project is a small but important part of Tacoma Power's portfolio of hydro projects. It was only Tacoma's second venture in hydropower, and it quadrupled the amount of electricity Tacoma had been generating since 1912. Cushman was carved out of the wilderness in the 1920s, at a time when electric power use was skyrocketing.
When the project was inaugurated in 1926, it was a big deal. And we have photos going back to that time showing people at the Narrows Crossing, which at the time, at over 6,000 feet, was the world's longest electrical crossing. But it was such a big deal that Calvin Coolidge pushed the button to symbolize the startup of those units back in 1926.
The Cushman dams were built in an era when the importance of power trumped the consequences of placing dams on the North Fork of the Skokomish River. But by 1974, when Tacoma Power sought a new operating license for the Cushman project, attitudes about hydro impacts on fish and the environment were dramatically changing. After 24 years of contentious work, a new license was issued. But Tacoma Power felt the multitude of new, expensive environmental mitigation requirements would make Cushman no longer worth operating.
So they issued a 40-year license in 1998, which Tacoma Power didn't like, and nor did the agencies or the Skokomish Indian tribe. So everybody appealed that license.
A decade later, after bitter legal disputes over fish, the Skokomish tribe, state and federal agencies, and Tacoma Power finally agreed on a plan for a new 50-year operating license. The new license agreement has unleashed a flurry of historic and innovative projects around Cushman over the past couple of years. At Cushman No. 2 Dam, work has just wrapped up on a fish capture facility and trolley system that will whisk migrating adult salmon up the face of the dam. The fish will be sorted here and moved by truck to Lake Cushman to spawn naturally in the upper basin.
This will be an introduction of fish that haven't existed since before the dams were built.
Up at Lake Cushman, the offspring of those adults will be collected in a floating barge, which is now under construction. They'll be trucked to the lower dam for a trolley ride into the canyon so they can make their journey out to sea.
And we'll be running anadromous fish into the upper lake, so that fishery is changing from what was a kokanee planted lake primarily with some cutthroat and other things into an anadromous fish lake. And then the lower lake here at Lake Kokanee is going to be devoted to resident fish, and it's primarily rainbow trout.
Tacoma Power is also planning construction of 2 new fish hatcheries, one for rearing sockeye salmon, the other for chinook, coho, and steelhead. Broodstock will be selected from fish trapped at the base of Cushman 2. Those fish will now have a much easier journey up the North Fork of the Skokomish River during their return from the Pacific Ocean. After decades of being little more than a trickle, water is once again flowing downstream of the 2 dams. Part of Tacoma Power's license agreement calls for up to a 10-fold increase in release of water from the lower dam. A new powerhouse is harnessing power that would otherwise be lost with the new releases. The increased flows are already having positive impacts on fish habitat.
That one is Category 1, that's the main channel.
Tacoma Power's fisheries biologists have started long-term monitoring of the downstream river channel. They're finding young salmon that have emerged from the newly inundated spawning habitat below the 2 dams.
There are spawning surveys going on right now, and they have been going on for many years with the help of the Skokomish tribe, and they've definitely seen an increase of fish activity already just due to the increase in flows below the dams.
It will take a few years, but this lower river channel will eventually be filled with several species of fish migrating to and from the upper Cushman. The price tag for constructing the Cushman fish collection facilities, hatcheries, and other improvements is nearly $50 million.
But definitely fish are the largest, will be the largest cost component of the settlement. It's not unlike the Cowlitz project, where fish constitute over 50% of the cost of operating the Cowlitz River project as well.
Besides fish enhancements, wildlife habitat is being improved. Camping and recreation opportunities for visitors are being expanded. And for the Skokomish tribe, cash payments and transfer of nearly 1,000 acres of property have been made. Tacoma Power's Cushman license implementation work is well underway and ensures the Cushman project remains viable for decades to come.
You can learn more about Tacoma Power's hydroelectric projects by visiting tacomapower.com.